Opening in theaters this week is the horror prequel The First Omen, and here's my review. Richard Donner's classic horror movie The Omen created plenty of chills of its story of a young boy who turns out to be the Antichrist, and the effect this particularly has on his father. Sequels of varying quality were produced afterwards, but now director Kasia Stevenson shows us what happened before Damien was born. Unfortunately, the result is a shockingly dull story that plods along for 2 hours. While it tries really hard to generate scares, few land with the needed effect, and things get sillier and sillier as a nun digs further into what these religious figures might be up to. For a good chunk of the film, the connections to the Omen are minor, as it focuses mainly on this nun newly arrived in Rome. Nell Tiger-Free does okay as Margaret as she becomes part of the staff in an orphanage and befriends the children. There's also a little bit of intrigue with a girl who's separated from the rest. However, the curiosity immediately goes away as the movie relies largely on all the familiar horror trickery for scares. There's an over-reliance on jump scares with things jumping out of the shadows or hands suddenly touching a shoulder, and any attempts to create tension in scenes fall flat. As the film digs deeper into the story, events just get more and more ridiculous. There are several scenes that go for shock value, but they're obvious and mainly there to get a gross reaction from the audience more than anything else. There are scenes like a riot on the streets of Rome that should provide an uneasy feeling, but they instead look rather silly. Even Free's performance struggles with the more outlandish things she's required to do. Meanwhile, Ralph Ineson just shows up to make cryptic warnings to Margaret, and Bill Nighy is especially wasted in a role where he mostly just shows up a couple times and is not able to bring much personality to his role. The biggest sin committed by The First Omen is that it's boring. The pace drags to a slow degree, especially during the third act when it's throwing so much at the viewer, but nothing excites. The film does not earn its 2-hour runtime as it slogs through the plot. When it does eventually throw in more connections to the original film, they feel incredibly forced. They range from copies of scenes from Donner's film to eye-rolling references. The First Omen certainly had a lot to live up to in trying to be a prequel to one of the best demonic horror films. However, the result ends up a film with no scares, thrills, chills, or even intriguing characters to follow. There's not a single moment that is all that shocking or unsettling, even though the filmmakers certainly give it a game try. Prequels can be tricky to pull off on occasion since the audience already has some idea where it could be heading. The First Omen struggles in making one invest in the characters and their possible role in future events and becomes an incredibly dull affair.